The U.S.-led coalition continued airstrikes against ISIS on New Year's Day, targeting the terrorist group's strongholds in Syria and Iraq. My next guest began researching ISIS for his latest book well before most of us had ever heard of ISIS. He's a former advisor to Benjamin Netanyahu. He's also the author of the brand new book, The Third Target. Joel Rosenberg joins us now. Joel, great having you here.
Thank you.
This book is like a prophecy, and I know that you're not pretending to be a prophet, but here's what I find amazing. You were talking about ISIS in the book, researching it, thinking it's years away. It kind of slipped up on everybody, didn't it? I mean, this became the big story of 2014.
That's right. When I began writing The Third Target, was researching and writing it last year, 2014, early in the year. Remember, it was just a year ago right now that President Obama was saying that ISIS was a JV team, not an important factor, that Al-Qaeda was pretty much defeated and diminished, and we didn't really have to worry. My research and my reporting was different, and I wanted to write a novel rather than an op-ed or a speech, taking people inside that world. What if ISIS got chemical weapons inside Syria, on top of the genocidal conditions they're already creating? What more damage could they do?
I find it interesting. I mean, your book is fiction. It's a novel. It's based on facts, kind of like reading Tom Clancy. By the way, it's an incredible read. It's one that you just are spellbound. Wow. But it is like reading the front pages of the paper. When you were writing this, did you think that your fictional story was going to become more like the front page of the New York Times or the Washington Post?
I hoped not. I mean, I try to write novels. I think novels have a way of taking you into a world that you would hope to never go into. But in my case, I want to sort of warn people what could be coming up over the horizon. I sat with a former CIA director, Jim Woolsey, from the Clinton years. I sat with Porter Goss, CIA director under President Bush. I sat with a former Mossad intelligence chief in Israel. And I said, what do you guys worry about? What keeps you up at night, 4, 5, 10 years down the road? ISIS, ISIS, ISIS.
They were talking about this before we were hearing the word.
They could see that Al-Qaeda in Iraq was morphing into something more dangerous than the president or others were seeing. And I thought, then I want to go there. Now, honestly, I thought ISIS was a 5-year down the road big story. So I thought, well, I'll get out in front of it, write about what could happen. It has moved much faster and much more dangerously, killing Christians, slaughtering Christians, beheading, crucifying, raping girls, enslaving people. It's genocidal conditions that have emerged in Syria and Iraq, but with chemical weapons, that would be a horrific game changer.
Joel, why did ISIS get so powerful so quickly? If you were thinking it was 5 years away and it pops up in a matter of months, what happened?
Well, the main thing that happened was President Obama's massive mistake inside Iraq. Because he thought that Al-Qaeda was on the wane, that was being defeated, and because he thought ISIS was a JV team, he pulled all our forces out of Iraq. Everyone, almost everyone, including his own defense secretaries, were telling him, don't do it, because you're going to create a vacuum, and Iraq's military is just not ready for this. Their political structure is just not ready. People told him. He didn't listen. And what we've got now is a system in which the Islamic State is being attacked verbally by Al-Qaeda leaders as being too crazy. Now, they're saying don't behead people. Now, when Al-Qaeda looks like the moderate, we've entered a bizarre situation in which really a demonic system is pouring across the Middle East. And as somebody who loves the United States, loves Israel, our moderate Arab allies, we have to stop ISIS. And that's sort of the cry of the book, is what happens if you don't stop ISIS?
You talk about Jordan in the book and the important role that Jordan plays in a peaceful Middle East. What happens if Jordan falls apart?
It's a nightmare scenario. You're right. I went to Jordan. I sat with the Prime Minister, with the Foreign Minister, with the Interior Minister, and some others. The Interior Minister said, is this going to be like a Clancy book? I said, I hope. He said, all right, good. Sit down, take notes. Your scenario is what the king appointed me to make sure never happens. And yeah, they're very worried. The Lebanese are worried. The Egyptians. Obviously, Prime Minister Netanyahu, a mutual friend, leading Israel, they're worried. Why? Because if the Western alliance doesn't stop ISIS, this Islamic State, they are going to take over and destroy one country after another. And I think given the problems we have on our southern border, it is not an unreasonable scenario. I don't write about it in the third target, but it's the beginning of a series. It's not an unreasonable scenario to imagine ISIS terrorists coming in from our southern border to attack here inside the United States.
That is frightening. Well, the book is absolutely outstanding. Joel, thank you for being here.